I'm not just looking for a project manager. I'm looking for a project manager that has a broad sense of AI skills, understands proper prompting, how we can utilize AI not just to drive efficiency, but also quality, and can bring those skills into project management. I think there's a tremendous opportunity when we talk about the services space. This number's from a staffing industry analyst. They're saying it's 2 to 3 trillion. There's enough there for all of us, but niche will make you rich. As adoption increased of agents, let me tell you what happened on the back end. We had 39.7% increase in calls. Stop using AI just to move faster. Start using it to also move better.
Marcus Sawyer, welcome you to AI and Recruiting, the show where they break down how AI is transforming hiring, leadership, and the future of work. Expect real talk, smart tools, and bold conversations with the people shaping what's next. Let's get into it.
Brian Salkowski, how you doing?
Hi, Marcus. Good to see you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, great to have a conversation with you that is on the record. We've had so many off the record, right?
It's about time we made it official.
Exactly. So where are you in the world today? Where do you find yourself?
I'm at my home base, which is Detroit, Michigan, or I should say just outside Detroit.
Nice. And I think one of the places that we spent some time, was it in Dallas? Did I get that right? What was
I think we first met in person in Dallas. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. And you have recently embarked on a new journey as well. Which
I have.
Yeah.
And if you can see the background behind me with eTeam in the corner. So I joined eTeam at the beginning of this year. Pleased to be part of the organization as its new president. For anyone not familiar with eTeam, leading workforce solutions company, do business last year in 143 countries with
Wow.
an ecosystem of offerings from traditional STEM recruitment to business and digital transformation services, global employment, and specialty like embedded talent and RPO. Comprehensive.
Wow. So that's a lot in terms of what you're doing, but the focus is really clear, and it's focused on talent overall. And obviously, you and I have been in the industry for some time. Why don't you tell the audience how you actually got there? So, what shaped your career? What were you doing before you got to eTeam, and what also made you take this move into becoming a president of a leading global staff and recruiting firm?
So I dare say that I'm dating myself here, but 30, actually over 30 years in the industry. So new to eTeam, far from new in the industry, and have seen it change, transform, metamorphosis over the years, multiple times in multiple ways. So prior to this new phase and new journey, I was with the Impelling Group for 17 years. Came to the organization through acquisition. Had lots of fun and opportunity to live the growth path with them, and across a broad array of, again, talent focused, talent at the heart of everything, service offerings from MSP, which was a primary focus, but into STEM recruitment, and other talent based solutions.
Well, that's some breadth, and I imagine that you've seen a lot of evolution in the space, and we're going to get to that in detail. But what are some of the things that you're noticing around our industry and how it is starting to evolve and take shape? And I'll paint a little picture here. I've always been taught within the staff and recruiting space that niche will get you rich, and focusing on a specialty. And you're in a broader organization now where you work in multiple different areas across different disciplines, different solution sets. Are there any particular patterns that you've noticed or that you're continuing to notice that will allow those CEOs that are listening out to businesses that have stayed true across whether you're in a niche, or niche, as we would say in the UK. That's why I struggled with it. Or you are on a more of a broad appeal organization, kind of like eTeam.
Yeah, I've never heard that phrase before. A niche will get you rich, or a niche will get you rich, whichever way you want to say it. I like it, and although we have broad capabilities, I am a big believer in specialization. So being able to dive down to the specifics and get into a level of detail that gives the end customer, the talent that you're working with, gives them a level of assurance and a level of confidence. So I like to think that we balance the two, the breadth of reach, but with capability and subject matter expertise to go deep into the subject areas that are relevant to our customers. So anyhow, your broader question though was for those listening, are there any developments that I see and that are catching attention. Um, so although the space has transformed, something that you said right at the beginning, at the center of all of that is talent, and that's true. So the means, the manner, the methods that are available, certainly the technology that's available to to support the business has changed and changed dramatically. And I will say for the better. But at the heart of what we do when we talk about workforce solutions, it's about talent that helps drive growth, right? Organizations are beholden to the talent for their current and future success. So that's never changed. So what we're really talking about here isn't reinventing the value proposition of talent. Talent is already proven. What we're talking about is better ways to marry supply and demand, and where it's imbalanced, fight off those imbalances. And so, as we talk about technology, AI, automation, all of these are additional tools in our toolbox that help us bridge that gap between supply and demand. But the output, the most visible output of what we do, is the right person in the right role, the talent that gets the job done.
Yeah, I think one of the areas that people tend to forget in the recruiting space is that the customer has to absolutely have an initiative, program, a plan, or something that they're trying to do in order for there to be that demand for the talent. And I think one of the things that is popping up more often is that demand still going to be there because of AI? How is the demand shifting, or how is it manifesting? Where is it going to go? And we can get into more of like kind of the future looking a little bit later on. But how do you think about AI transforming, if at all, the supply and demand, without this being a loaded question? Is it transforming the supply and demand? Maybe a better question. Or do you still see supply and demand as the same fundamentals in our business as they've always been?
Yeah. Um, it's a great question, and I'll actually, and very timely, in that yesterday, quite literally just yesterday, article in Wall Street Journal referencing how the big AI CEOs have backed off of dramatically their predictions of doom and gloom from only a year ago. Um, Anthropic says that it's going to cannibalize 50% of all entry level jobs. Sam Altman's making big projections. And the article was essentially, look at how far they've walked that back. That doesn't mean that things aren't shifting. They absolutely are. But to suggest that it's going to cannibalize all work and all roles seems at this point like a broad overstatement. And I think that's actually, so as you said, we'll get into predictions in the future, but I actually think that's consistent with what I've seen over 30 years in the industry. There's been a ton of technological transformation in there. When I started, we pulled resumes off a fax machine and submitted classified ads for the Sunday newspaper. Job boards came in, VMS came in, advanced analytics, RPA, and obviously it brought challenges, but with those challenges came opportunities. And what happened is technology ultimately eliminated work, but not roles. Right. So
Mm.
there was work placing that classified ad and pulling those resumes off the fax machine. The role of marrying talent and enterprises together, that didn't go away. That role still has a valuable place. How that work got done, those tasks were eliminated, but the overarching thesis that why we are in business didn't change.
I think if we kind of double click on that area of the difference between work and a role, because that's almost like the difference between SOW or FTE or a contractor, right? Like, do you actually
Mm,
want the outcome, which everybody does ultimately, but
sure.
what are you willing to pay for? Um, one of the things that I'm noticing, and I'd love to get your take on, is that the work, to your point, there's work that's moving away. So our missions that people listening in know, EQ is zero admin. So we're removing admin,
Hmm.
so that we're actually
Yeah,
going out to remove admin, not going out to remove people. Um, but the roles are also transforming. So because
sure.
if we take the whole dynamics of supply and demand again, and we say,
Hmm.
okay, now there's some space to do something else and time, what else should I do, or how should I spend my time and space? And I'm interested in your perspective, not only from internally, but also externally. Are you seeing any shifts or any surprises in what your customers are requesting? Are you getting requests for AI expertise? Are you are you even playing in that area? How is it shifting the landscape of the role that the human being now needs to take on?
Yeah, it's a fantastic question, and seeing it firsthand in a number of different ways. And I'll actually start off by sharing a quote. It's not mine. It's actually the founder of eTeam, Ben Thacker. He says, "We use AI not to eliminate the human element, but so we can be more human." Okay. We use AI so we can be more human because there are a lot of tasks that are robotic in nature. And being in recruitment, I think about the detail, and it's necessary in a recruitment process for onboarding and screening and asset provision, et cetera. These are almost robotic like tasks that we can leverage AI to do so that we can spend more time and what I consider to be much higher value add in engage in the human elements of this process. So to your point, a role shifting, yes, we are seeing absolutely some of those task based things are being eliminated, and they should be eliminated. But what's that is allowing for is a shift to other higher value. Listen, we don't fully know the future, right? So there may be some additional evolution. There will be additional evolution. I can't even predict at this point in time. So how are we already seeing it play into the job market? Well, the easy one is, are we seeing requisitions for folks with AI skills and expertise that are going to support those transformation initiatives? Obviously, yes. So big surge in demand for job roles that have his skills, title, etc. Anything AI, it is the fastest growth skill area out there. But that's those who are implementing, project managing, and executing those transformation plans. What see actually with much greater frequency and much greater effect is the request for AI based skills layered on top of a traditional role. So not just looking for a project manager. I'm looking for a project manager that has a a sense of AI skills, understands proper prompting, how we can utilize AI not just to drive efficiency, but also quality, and can bring those skills into project management. And that's becoming very, very pervasive. So those that have that have invested in it, are constantly learning, are putting themselves at a distinct advantage in the job market.
Do you remember looking at resumes years ago, and it was like a gold star if somebody had proficient in Excel on it, and it
Yeah,
was like,
of course. Now you don't even list it. It's expected.
right, and I think that's where we're going with the skills of AI. It's going to be expected in every resume, uh,
Mhm.
but being able to deliver. And then you had the Excel wizards who kind of went off and you're like, oh my, like, I don't know how they can do that. And there's going to be this new wave of people that are really proficient and can do the work, in my opinion, of 10 people, or can do the work of 15 people. But they deeply understand how to apply AI to real world problems. And I think that's one of the shifts that I'm starting to see, and those voices become louder in the organization, um, because they have more control, right? They're not
Yeah,
just controlling, they're not just ICs. You're seeing the
that's
ICs
right.
evolve to supervisors of workers and digital workers, and you and I have talked about. So yeah, love your take on that, and see if you see something similar or different.
I do, and this hits very close to home to me. So I'm not just staffing industry guy. I'm also a father, and I have college age student who's going to be entering the workforce fully in less than 2 years. And these are conversations we have at length. And so, going to be a finance grad, and still going through the fundamental skills, heavy math, economics, accounting, all the things that you would expect. But he's also investing significant time to understand various AI tools and how can become much more efficient in that analysis. Very complex tasks, like creating a discounted cash flow, leveraging the technology to do that in hours, what would have taken a week's time, et cetera. Now he's still learning, but I can tell you it is a gigantic focus. And so he's leveraging it in his search for internships. He's leveraging it in his skill preparation. And the expectation, as we're talking about, is in graduating, it's not that those roles don't exist, but the capability of what can be done through technology is different. And where he needs to compete and win is by being better able to harness that than his competitors for those opportunities.
So I see kind of a few different areas where AI is being applied inside of organizations, and then also, as you mentioned with your son,
Mhm.
outside, like preparing. And there's like
Yes.
day to day applications. How can I do more with the same or less tools, right? Like how can I do more?
Mhm.
Um, and then there's this area that I think about, and we talked about AI transformation. I'm like transform and this is the question I have in my head, and maybe we can kind of talk through this. But transform into what? So if you go through a transformation, let's take fitness for instance, right? And maybe you've lost, I don't know, 50 pounds or something. It's transformation. Uh, Things might change. Your diet might change. Maybe your clothing changes.
Yeah.
What you decide to do on the weekend changes. How many pints of beer you have might change. I'm interested in thinking about like what will change for the organizations once they go through this transformation, or is transformation a constant state, right? Because we know change is the only constant. So I'm wondering what your perspective is on that. Like, where are these companies transforming to? Is there a
Yeah.
quote unquote, let's say, end state in our lifetimes, right? Because it's never going to end. But is there a state that we
Yeah.
should be prepared to support as staffing and recruiting leaders or people in the industry?
Yeah, that is a big question. I'll start off by saying what you share is one of my favorite quotes, right? The only constant is change. I think that's absolutely true. And been in a constant state of transformation. It's been from a different point in time to a different expected outcome over and over. I think we're only at this point starting to unlock the possibilities. So, what are we transforming towards? It's in a couple different ways. One, we're transforming towards a new division of labor. So the old division of labor, very much human based. Now it's a combination, and you hear this often, of humans and agents working side by side, and so we're figuring that out right now. So what are we transforming towards? We're transforming towards a new division of labor, but we should also be looking at, it's not just about total throughput, transforming to a new level of quality. If we can get greater assurance, allow it for strategic thought on top of just tactical execution, that becomes a transformation towards a higher level of outcome, higher value proposition. So I don't know that I can define a state 10 years out and say this is what it's going to look like. If I did that 10 years ago, I would have been dead wrong. It's moving so quickly, but you can see the opportunities to transform towards a more efficient organization, a more quality focused organization, ones with a different division of labor that now allow for better internal and external customer outcomes. I think that's very, very real and very probable.
Yeah, I think that we're going to see the evolution continue from humans in the loop. Ultimately, the organizations that are going to win is the humans are going to be in the lead.
Yeah,
And so, to your point, more strategic, being more human, to Ben's point, and the point at eTeam, how do we double down on the skills that make us different? Because every human is slightly different, although we're similar in many different regards,
yeah,
but that's a differentiator. And we know how many times, I mean, you're a big customer guy, and maybe you can talk a little bit about that, but winning deals on relationships,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, so I'll give you a terrible analogy, but I used it with my team recently. Said that does the role of since we're talking talent, does the role of the recruiter go away? No, it doesn't. But the recruiter of the future is an Iron Man. So Iron Man's a person, but he's augmented by the best technology that's out there. He's making the decisions where to go, how to act. But all of the superpowers, if we want to call it that, are technology enabled. So that's our recruiter of the future, Iron Man.
So I got a question, follow-up question to Iron Man. Is Batman a superhero, yes or no?
Sure, absolutely.
So, so Batman doesn't
Same
have.
thought. Yeah,
Okay, same thought, right?
yeah,
He's got the powers, the environment, the tech, the tools, but
yeah.
he
He's
he
got the
gets stuff.
gadgets, right? Yeah,
Yeah, he's got the
yeah,
gadgets. He's got. So you don't need to have. So I think what we're also saying, Brian, and I'm going to say we're saying this, and you can just shut me down. We're saying you don't need the chip in your neck just yet. Like you don't need the AI chip in the back of your neck just yet, unless and those who know me will know that my brother's gone through some things. He's had a brain aneurysm. I think for people that want to get back to maybe where they were, that could be a huge opportunity as well. But it's probably just as good just
yeah,
using the tools that exist and still
yeah.
remaining human.
Have to remain human, and it's fundamentally important. And as you said, I'm a customer guy. Spend a lot of time with customers, and this is reinforced over and over again when I'm having conversations, whether it's a formal voice of customer interview or whether it's just casual conversation, comes up over and over again. Don't You are your people. Don't lose that. Augment them, equip them like Batman, equip them like Iron Man, but don't lose that human element.
So now we're talking about people, and you're leading a large
Mhm.
organization. You deliver teams to organizations as well. So it's all
Yes.
about people. Where are you focusing your time and your effort as a senior leader at a large scale staffing and recruiting? I wouldn't even say just firm, but organization. Where are you prioritizing your time?
Yeah. There's a couple different, as you would expect. There's a couple different focus areas. So I'll actually take a step away from technology for a moment, just talk about it from a service offering and from a growth proposition. I'm not going to surprise, I think, anyone out there to say that there has been an extended shift towards, as you say, buying outcomes to engaging teams for complex solutions and helping to solve business issues that's driving that demand as you referenced. So as we look at our organization, we are continuing to invest in both in terms of skills, capabilities, the right technical resources on our team. As well as the right selling and relationship strategies to ensure that we are elevating our engagement with our customers to solve for business issues in addition to fulfilling open roles, et cetera. Both are valuable. There's times where you need a resource, but there's also times where you need a partner that can give you assurance and you can confer trust upon to execute. So this is an important part of what we're doing. The second big focus is yes, with everything we just talked about, no surprise, it's how do we enable our business through technology, and there are a number of different work streams on this front, both front office facing our customers, facing our associates, but also middle and back office where we're bringing in tools and tech to drive more and drive better.
We are seeing a lot of this with our customers as far as the two areas, like you mentioned, whether it's front office and then it's kind of middle and back office to
Hmm.
transform themselves.
Yep.
Because once you can transform yourself, it's easier to provide the roadmap to your
Hmm.
customers. So one of the things you got me to think about was a customer that we have where they have been using agents that they've converted into digital workers on our platform to train their team. And I find that really interesting with this evolution of using AI to get an answer or an outcome, to using AI as a thought partner as well to
Yeah.
help you deliver better results, almost like a coach. And yeah, I think that there's something
We
for our
actually
business.
have a sales coach agent that is
Amazing.
working with our account managers to help them role play and work through complex situations. And by the way, I can take a look and say those who are embracing it to the greatest degree versus those who aren't, difference in results as well.
It's almost like, and you and I have talked offline a bit about sports, but imagine having a super high performing team with no coaches. It
Hmm.
seems wild, right? Like you can imagine the World
Right.
Cup team, and then there's like a question of like, how many coaches do you need? Do you need
Yeah.
because you get into football, right? There's loads of coaches, so there's also a balance
Yeah.
between the two. Are there any areas? So I really appreciate the insights that you've
Yeah.
shared just around people and the priorities and having them move, I would say, more upstream, focus on more complex work.
That's right.
Are there any areas that you are seeing that are a little bit difficult to tackle that maybe you haven't got a solution for when it comes to people or getting them moving kind of further upstream? And not to give away your secret sauce and how you operate, but I think we understand, as you said, in our industry, there's kind of you've got and I can name like the Bains, McKenzie's, Accenture, the
Yeah.
Deloitte's,
Yeah.
got that kind of area. Then you've got businesses in our space that are moving further upstream. But
Yeah.
there's always been a challenge around brand or perception of like, can this company do that? So
Yeah.
I'm wondering how you're tackling that, or if you're seeing other challenges that are related to kind of a similar topic.
I mean, you described it absolutely perfectly, and the simple fact is, as you mentioned, some of those major system integrators or consultancies, et cetera, they're in a leadership position for a reason, and it's what they do. There's a tremendous amount of work that happens when we talk about these large initiatives that isn't happening at that top level, but is still value added for the business. So part of this is understanding where you can compete, where you can win, having an ideal client profile. I mean, these are old school approaches, but they're there for a reason and they work. So part of that is understanding exactly that. What are our differentiators? Where do we have where do we have strong use cases and case studies that we can bring to bear and tell stories to customers? What is our ideal client profile that's predicated upon where we can be the best partner, best supplier, but also where we have the highest win probabilities? So that's a lot of front end work, but it's critically important for us positioning ourselves well within the marketplace. From there, it's that combination of sales and relationship team, but also technical team that can bring it together and design the project, but then also execute it against it and make sure that the right roles are there and manage to the end engagement. And so, in some situations, it's a different skill set, it's a different role. In others, it's a learning and development opportunity for existing. It's not one or the other; it's a combination of both. But I think there's a tremendous opportunity when we talk about the services space. This numbers from staffing industry analysts. They're saying it's 2 to 3 trillion. There's enough there for all of us. Um, but niche will make you rich. We have to know where we are going to specialize or where we can compete and win and create value within that.
I'm thinking about the two ends of the spectrum, right? So you've got like the technology native, and then you've got kind of like the people native, and then somewhere in the middle you've got the
Mhm.
technology enabled.
Yeah.
businesses, and you're starting to see companies are walking somewhere into the middle. So like the hybrid model.
Yeah.
And I wonder how that's going to play out. So I'll provide a bit of context of what I'm thinking about. We've been in the industry for a long time, and there was this whole thing around like these freelance platforms, on demand platforms. They done okay, but they never really took off in the way that I think people had expected.
Yeah.
Because it was tech first, right? You go to the platform, you get what you want, you come in. You're now starting to see that with the Anthropic, the OpenAIs, they're investing in forward deployment. They've got new businesses where they're investing billions
Yeah.
of dollars. So it feels
That's
like
right.
there's this race, and then you've got the super old school high brand areas that say always been top and to the right, and they're like, "Whoa, I might need to buy 200,000 OpenAI seats." We've seen those kind of things, and it
Yeah.
feels to me that we're all swimming in a similar area, and I'm betting on the staffing and recruiting firms because I just feel like each time, as you mentioned earlier, we evolve. We see
Yeah.
something, whether it's job boards, whether it's social, and we continue to evolve. So I just wonder what your take would be on that. If you have any comment.
Yeah. Again, your questions are all real timely. So, staffing industry analyst SIA, their news post today had article convergence of the job platforms. It wasn't titled exactly that, but that was the messaging, and it's exactly what you said. It started as platform to connect independent talent, freelancers, with buyers out there, and the point of this is now those same platforms are offering project-based solutions. They're offering employed solutions for contractors, and so this this segmentation isn't it is a somewhat, and I'm going to call it somewhat manufactured. It's about how do we best structure an engagement to deliver against the outcome, and is that as a partner who's going to take ownership of it? Is it as a provider that can source the talent under your leadership? Is it a hybrid or combination? Those that can solve for the outcome, right? Whatever that project and the deliverable is, the method is the means by which we get there. It's not the solution.
We are spending more time, or I'm spending a lot more time, just thinking about the conversion of tokens to work,
Mm,
right? And there's a whole value supply chain that happens from one end of that spectrum to the other because some
yeah,
people want that outcome. I was on a call recently and had a conversation with somebody super excited on the technical side. Yeah, we want to move forward. Go ahead. And then somebody on the team was just asking, like, whoa, how are we going to get this set up? And they had then reassured on our behalf, like, don't worry, they're going to hold your hands. And I found that really interesting, the fact that the hand holding piece is the differentiator, but it ties back to what you'd originally said and what we've been talking about. The people will continue to be the differentiating, relationships are going to continue to thrive. Right?
I'll give you an anecdote here. I was speaking to the CEO of a large provider in the industry, and they developed a platform. And as we're talking about, is brilliant. The user interface is fantastic. It does absolutely what we intended to do. It's efficient. Go down this asset list. He's like, our customers won't engage with it. No, they call Marcus and say, Marcus, I need this, and Marcus engages with it. And he's seeing it over and over again. And so why? Because the relationship is built in that example with Marcus, the trust is there, etc. Hey, we've worked together. You know me. You have an intuition about what I'm looking for. You utilize the tools to bring it back and create the outcome. So it wasn't a wasted effort. It's still a beautiful tool, and the team is using it. But the expectation that clients were going to bend to their will, we built it, therefore you will come, isn't always the case. And
Yeah,
so that's part of that need to iterate and find that right combination of people and technology and position it so that the clients benefit from the gains, you benefit from the gains, but it's in a way that is consumable.
that's why I think there's a huge opportunity for the staffing and recruiting industry in this AI wave to be that next wave of systems integrators, service providers,
Mm.
those that empower their customers along that journey that they're going on.
Yeah.
So I'm going to do my
That's a
share.
good word for you. Empower. Yes.
Empower.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if we're empowering each other to get stuff that, to your point earlier, with this $3 trillion, there's so much opportunity there, and what staffing firms that have been successful have done. And you know that there's a lot of acquisition with high, have they carved out a niche in that market, got acquired, then bolted on and figured out where they want to go next. And I think one of the niches
Yeah.
that we're underserving just at large is that transformation piece, for the next wave of company.
The demand, the demand is hard to even predict because it is so large.
We've covered a lot of topics. We've covered the past. We've talked a little bit about what you're working on now. We've talked about how you're prioritizing people. But we're not scared of technology. We're leveraging technology, but it's a human first approach. Is there any predictions or anything in particular that you want to talk about when it comes to the future and where you see things going that might be useful for our audience listening?
There are. I'll start off with um, a comment, which is that right now the availability um, of of agents of technology and at various stages, it far exceeds the adoption. And that probably doesn't surprise anything when I say that, but um, for that transformation, that new division of labor, that new that new way of working to really become actualized, adoption needs to catch up to availability, and so that would be my first prediction. It's not an overly bold one, but I would absolutely expect that we will see that increment here, and we have some examples of that in our own deployments where we have we introduced in the last 2.5 3 months um, interview briefing and debriefing agents. Um, this is new for a lot of folks, so the adoption it's not where we would hope it would be right now. Interestingly, it's higher for briefing than it is for debriefing. And probably not surprising. I'm going into an interview if it's going to help me get the job. If I've already completed the interview, what's in it for me on the back end to expend additional time to do that? Now, I would argue that's how the models train, how they get better. So we need to think about what the reward mechanisms are. Is there gamification or other ways that we can use to help drive the adoption when the clear what's in it for me, or I should say, when what's in it for me isn't quite as clear. But that's the big challenge ahead of us. So as we're experimenting, as we're iterating, et cetera, we need more use cases, more examples, more reasonable risk taking to build upon to perfect these models. And so I think that's really my first projection is that's the challenge that's in front of us in the most immediate term is taking this and crafting that right balance and that alignment and what we do to build upon. I'll make another prediction, which is maybe a little bit further out there, and I know you're going to have questions for me on this. But when we look at this broad talent marketplace, it is highly fractured. There are in the U.S. alone tens of thousands of firms, and the vast majority of them small to mid size. Um, and so with that, I think you're going to see some market share shifts. And so some of those firms, do they have the scale or the wherewithal to do that experimenting and iteration or that investment into identifying these new models? Um, do they have the talent and the resources in order to do that? And so, for those that are getting out in front and are leaders or are fast followers, I think there's an opportunity for them to take some market share, and we'll see some consolidation in the industry, and you'll see things go one of three ways. So a market share aggregator, those that are going to be leveraging this opportunity for transformation to take market share. There are those that will go the other direction, and they're just going to go extra specialized and they're a small player now. They're going to go very deep into it and use that as their defensible moat. And then you're going to see some go away. And some through acquisition couldn't compete in this, or they're gonna pull back in entirety. But that doesn't mean we go from 10,000 to 10. But I do think that the industry is ripe for some consolidation, and this next technological wave is going to provide that opportunity.
Well, there's a lot there. I think the point that you made earlier around the adoption piece, so more access than adoption, there's a gap, and that gap is who or what type of firm, and can it be staff and it becomes the glue. So
Mhm.
is there a glue opportunity to be, okay, this is what we have, these are the tools, these are the
Yep,
systems. In between that, we're going to provide that glue to make it sticky for you to understand how you get the most out of it.
I like that framing, and I think that's exactly right.
And this is it's your point, right? It's not my, I'm just kind of like thinking about it as we're talking, which is, yeah, providing some amazing insights here, Brian. And the other thing as well will be the incentive systems. So
Yes.
the structure that you mentioned earlier, how are we going to incentivize not AI adoption, but the right behaviors? Because there's also been this whole talk about token maxing and people spending more than they need on tokens. And I'm seeing that there's a lot of circular revenue going around.
Yeah.
But in the end, it's what are you using it for? Is it better? Is it faster? Is it less expensive? Business fundamentals that we all know, right? It's the
Yeah.
school
Well,
thing.
and that's where success breeds success, right? So if we have those success stories, people want to emulate those success stories.
Sure.
And so when we were preparing for this conversation, your associates they love numbers, they love stats. So when I look at adoption of agents within our recruitment team. So now front office here, it is absolutely moved like this. And the reason why is, and I'm looking right now, short window, January to June. Okay. So first half of this year, um, as adoption increased of agents, let me tell you what happened on the back end. We had 39.7% increase in calls, contacts.
Yeah.
So I'm not consumed with the task-based work, that robotic work we talk about. So I can invest more time with candidates and clients. Call volume went up 39.7%.
Wow.
Starts per recruiter went up 20%. Um, yeah, so success. More time to invest in calls resulting in more placements. And let's be specific. We're all selfish to a certain degree. We have our own self-interest, and our more starts means more commission, more money, more take-home play. So that's the feedback loop that we need to replicate over and over again. We haven't quite cracked it yet when I'm talking about the brief and debrief agents, but we need to, because then that becomes, you get that flywheel effect. It builds upon itself.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on not only the outcome, but being able to drive it and execute it, because I think that's one of the biggest challenges. And as you mentioned, we've all got some self interest, but it feels like we're at a point where that self interest is is useful for people to understand what's going on in the industry, right? Like, if you're making more placements, the question is how. And what are you
Yeah.
removing? And going back to what we were talking about, and our mission is zero admin. So again, shameless plug,
Yeah.
anybody that
Love
is
it.
thinking about doing that and you want to spend more time not only on the phone, but I really love that stat at the end, because I saw a similar statistic with an article that was proposed from American Staffing Association. I've done an article this weekend, ran at some stats which were pretty much spot on with what you said around the call volume.
Is that right?
Yeah, like I literally posted it yesterday, and what was missing, and I put in the article, what's the placements? So to see a 20% increase in placements, absolutely fantastic. Well, I could talk to you forever, but we're getting towards the tail end of
Yeah.
our discussion. Brian, is there anything else that you want to mention or you think's worth leaving with the audience before we depart?
So I knew you were going to ask this, and so my takeaway um, thought is stop using AI just to move faster. Start using it to also move better. So love zero admin. We've talked about it a lot of times. In addition to zero admin, can we also leverage it to generate more more it's bad English, more better outcomes. But my thought being, usually it's more outreach, but how do we use it to generate better outcomes? So an example that I have recently is using AI to query, created the shortlist for me, but ask it what why would a hiring manager not select these five people, these three people? What's in that background that could be a red flag? What looks unconventional but could be high potential that I need to bring out and highlight? So it's not just producing the short list, but it's now leveraging it to check, challenge, and create better outcomes. So we have that dynamism between volume and quality going at the same time.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think that's a great point that is misunderstood with AI, not just using artificial intelligence to do what you've always done, but use it to do something that wasn't possible before. So,
And you couldn't do that before. A second opinion. Yes.
exactly. Well, Brian, you've been absolutely fantastic. Appreciate you taking the time. Where can people find you if they want to reach out or get in touch?
I'm on LinkedIn, Brian Salkowski, our website, eteaminc.com. Very easy, and would welcome any outreach and would welcome the opportunity to continue the conversation, Marcus. This was great.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for those listening in today. I hope you've enjoyed the episode and please reach out to Brian. And also on the other side, if you're thinking about getting to a zero admin state and that transformation, reach out to EQ and me, and I'll be happy to have a conversation. Thanks again, Brian. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Marcus.
If you got value from today's episode, share it with someone in your network, your team, your boss, or that recruiter still stuck in 2015. Be sure to follow the show so you never miss what's next in hiring and AI. Until next time.